Good morning, curling world. It is the final day here at the third Men's Invitation World Curling Tour event in Adelboden. We are at the semi-final stage. We have 4 teams left in this competition. And we have a treat for you today. We have the action cam and everything. And in our featured semi-final here in Adelboden, we are going to watch undefeated team Retornaz from Italy. And they are taking on last year's champions, Team Hösli from Switzerland. They've had a bit of a rocky path to get here, Team Hösli. We shall talk a little bit about that as well. And in contrast, the Italians making very smooth progress. The Italians, they won their group, 4 wins out of 4, so they qualified directly for semi-final. And Hösli's team, they won 2, lost 2. But they had a real tough quarter-final last night against Iseli's team. Finally triumphing 7 points to 6, so they've definitely had the harder path to get here. And because the Italians were top of their group, they are the ones who have last stone advantage in this first end. And rather confusingly, everybody wearing red uniforms, but it is the Italians who are throwing red stones, and it is Hösli's team throwing yellow stones. And we had a lot of love in the chat yesterday for the lovely, handsome Italian men wearing their smart new red uniforms. I have some update on that. These are actually interim uniforms. The new team uniforms for this season got a little bit delayed. So those nice smart red hoodies, they're a temporary solution. And I can see Cesar in the chat already. Big fan of the Italians and Amos Mazzana. The Italians coming off a big win last weekend in Scotland, where they won 6 out of 6 games. They beat 4 Scottish teams and 2 teams from the US to win the Euro Super Series event in Scotland. They will have brought big confidence into this event. Hösli's team having a bit of the reverse luck, to be honest. We'll come back to that. Stones in play already in this first end. We play 8 ends here in Adelboden. If we have a tie after 8 ends, if scores are tied, we shall play an extra end. And we had some extra end bonus curling last night in our featured semi-final. We were watching Team Klima from the Czech Republic. They were playing against Team Schnider from Switzerland. And what a game that was. Really close, really tense the whole time. Finally going to an extra end. And Andrei Schnider drawing the 4-foot for the win in the extra end. And their reward is they are on the next sheet. And in their semi-final, they are playing our Korean team, Team Jeong. There you are, you can see them just on the right side of our screen. And it's our first time welcoming a team from Asia Pacific region here. And we're delighted to have our Korean guests. And I know we often have fans from Asia Pacific joining us here in the virtual curling club. And a lot of support for our Korean guests this weekend as well. So we shall be keeping eyes on what's going on over there. I expect some fireworks over in that semi-final. It's never a dull time when you're watching Andrew Schnider's team. And the two winners of this semi-final, they will progress to the final, which is at 1:30 European today. And that's a nice result for Hösli. Hösli's team without last stone in this first end. And again, their objective will simply be to frustrate the Italians. There's Cesar with his big support for the big guy, who is winding up his throwing arm right now. There he is. Amos Mozana, Olympic champion with his teammate Stefania Constantini at mixed doubles for Italy. And gosh, Mattia Giovanella on the left there. What excellent socks he's wearing this morning. We've been appreciating the nice uniforms of the Italian men. And Mattia going all out for his final day appearance today. A nice result for Amos with his first throw of the game here. Superfan Megan, she's pleased with how well the Italians are starting their season. They have really started with a bang, picking up from where they left off last season, winning bronze medal at the World Championships. Megan always very dedicated to watching her curling. We have the action cam on the ice today. We can see up close the reactions. And we're not allowed to giggle at Joel. He's got a bit of a sore throat, so he's sometimes a bit squeaky.
Clean, clean.
And we're trying not to laugh at it.
Bomba, bomba, bomba. Roll, roll. Okay.
Tidy stuff, as usual, from the Italians. They do have two nice stones lying around there. There is a double takeout available, but your shooter, I don't think, would hang around. In this early stage of the game, in this first end, Hösli's team, they'll simply be wanting to contain the Italians. They don't mind giving up 1 point here in the first end, but they don't want the Italians to have a chance to set anything up. First throw of the game for younger Hösli brother Philip. And as you'll see, his older brother Marco Hösli not playing this weekend. This looks nice from Philip. I think he's got just to the inside, yep, and a nice little roll across. Nice stuff from him. That's removed the danger and set up a dangerous yellow stone there, right in front. Super throw from Philip Hösli. Philip's brother Marco not playing this weekend, and I wondered if he maybe just had to go to his normal job or something boring like that, but unfortunately, he's recovering now, but unfortunately Marco Hösli had a bad shoulder injury. He had a bit of a fall and did some damage to his, of course, it was his throwing arm on his right shoulder. So he's recovering now, but poor Marco looking at about 12 weeks of physiotherapy. So we will not be seeing Marco Hösli in the curling hall until probably January. And still very young, this team, of course, but that feels like an awfully long time away. We wish Marco a real strong recovery. I think a few people were expecting big things from Hösli's team this year. They've been working hard for a long time now, Hösli, and that team really ready to start winning stuff. Hit and roll attempt from Joel there, but I think that's just rolling a little bit too far. And that dangerous yellow from Philip Hösli still hanging around, and ooh, already in the first end proposing to squeeze a stone through that port out front.
Der Gelb ist tabu halt. Ist gut für mich. Ich hätte ihn gespielt, ja. So etwas. Ja, das ist die Variante. Es ist einfach weiter raus, als dass wir es kennen. Das ist ein bisschen frisch dort.
If you want to show support, you can tell us which team you're cheering for. Also in the other semi-final, we will be keeping eyes on what's going on over there. Or if you want to admire the fancy red uniforms of the Italian boys. We had a lot of that yesterday as well.
Ich habe das Gefühl, es kommt dann schon draußen.
Oh, Philip deciding against the fancy through the port shot just now, and instead just going for dead draw to the tee line. We've seen how curly the ice is. That's pretty normal these days. Championship ice is very fast and very curly. We've been timing the hog-to-hog time this weekend. It's been, seems to be about 15 seconds for a tee line, so pretty fast out there. And really curly as well. We've seen several of the teams able to really sneak a stone, even if there are stones in the front ring. We've seen the teams really able to wrap a stone right round the back.
Ja, muss drauf vorbei. Ho dann, ho, wenn es kurz ist, ho. Ho, 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 ho.
So that stone coming up a bit short. And the boys deciding, okay, let's just leave it there, try to block that path a bit more. That means if the Italians now want to find the forefoot, they're going to have to go even wider on a fresh path. So that stone from Philip found a decent spot there. And as we said, the Swiss don't mind giving up 1 point here, which they currently are, and the Italians having a look, how can they make 2? Yeah, maybe promoting that red just near Joel's feet. Or you can take a wider path than we just saw from Philip Hösli. I think there's little risk to trying this shot. I think Amo's just saying just not too much gas on this shot though. What you don't want would be to bump that red and somehow bump your own red too far back. But if they have a good weight for this promotion, I think this is the best idea. Not too dangerous, this shot. May as well have a go. First throw in the semi-final for Joel Retornaz. We shall say hello to the teams in just a minute. Oh, but that stone even looks like it was tracking backwards a little bit. But no harm done. One red before and one red after that shot, and it is then a score of 1 point to the Italians. It is Joe Retornaz's team from Italy leading Hösli's team from Switzerland 1 point to 0.
Op, boys. Speed nog een beetje präziser werden. Es fehlt nicht viel. Ich finde mich nämlich jetzt spät aus. Meine ist ein bisschen kurz. Ja, ich habe gesagt, im Schnitt stimmt es länger. Nein, also. Wir spielen das Cornergärtchen, hätte ich gesagt. Finde ich das nicht lässig.
It will be the Italians then who start us here in the second end.
No, ma proprio questa era neanche a boccia, anche la tira proprio
Cesar happy with the start from the Italian boys. I think they will have high expectations for themselves in this tournament, the Italians. And, well, as we often do, we have a Korean friend in the chat as well, supporting their team. You can see the Koreans just to the right of our screen there. That was a blank end in the first end over there, so that's still 0-0. Everyone's welcome here in the virtual club, so feel welcome to say hello or show support for your team, whoever that is. Or if you have a question, we love to talk about curling here. There is no question too nerdy for the virtual club. So first throw of the second end for Justin Hauser. So maybe we can say hello to the teams out there. Everyone's in red, so don't get confused. But on the left of your screen, we have the familiar figures of fourth and skip Joel Retornaz, third Amos Mozana, second Sebastiano Arman, and newly full-time lead thrower is Mattia Giovanella. They are coached as ever by the legendary Claudio Pescia. And over on the right of your screen, we have this weekend, fourth thrower is Philip Hösli, third thrower is Marco Hefti, guest skip and second thrower is Martin Rios, and lead thrower Justin Hausherr. And they are coached as ever by Rolf Hösli. We're missing Marco Hösli with a shoulder injury. Marco won't be on ice in this kind of capacity, at least. He will not be playing this kind of level until at least January, they reckon, at the moment. So a big blow for Team Hösli. They were really starting to carve a good path for themselves, the Hösli team. And they'll be disappointed to kind of miss the first half of the season. Still very young, this team. And super set-up play from Justin Hauser, going straight for the aggressive call with last stone, giving the Italians something to think about immediately in the second end, setting up the corner guards.
Bomba! Hard! Stych! Whoa! Oh, linea, not giù.
That's really nicely thrown from Sebastiano Arman.
11-10.
My new fact this weekend is that Sebastiano's nickname is Ramma, and you will hear the boys using that name all the time. So either calling for the sweeping, Ramma, or nice throw from Ramma there. So guest skip and second thrower Martin Rios. He's a handy sub to have on your team. Martin, twice world champion at mixed doubles. And that's a nice throw from him. Although actually, I heard a frustrated noise, and probably he wanted to rather roll the other way and keep the Italians away from the centre actually. So even though that yellow has found a nice spot, could be difficult to get a second yellow in there now.
Sì. Gioca così. Ehi.
And of course, when you have last stone, you have one last stone to make your one last shot, and making 1 point with your one last stone is sort of the default. And if you would make 1 point with your last stone, and then it would pass to the opposition, and they would just make 1 point, etc., etc. Then after 8 ends, you would have a score of 4 each. So if you want to win the game, you have to mix it up a bit. 1 point with last stone's not enough. And that's why we see the teams setting up the guards, setting up stones on the wings, rather than going straight to the centre. The problem with playing straight towards the centre, and we see that a lot more these days, but the risk with playing towards the centre is that either you kind of box yourself in, or your opposition can sometimes block the path and make it hard for you to score more than that 1 point. But Hösli team being dragged a little bit towards the centre here now.
Boys.
Marco Hefti shaking off any tiredness this Sunday morning. And that's a nice throw from Martin Rios. That yellow's found a good spot there. You can see there's a nice angle now between that yellow and the red. And Joel immediately wanting to back that up a bit. We need another red in there. First throw of the second end for Olympic champion Amos Mazzana. We did, remarkably, have someone a little bit taller than Amos Mazzana in the competition, Christian Bangerter. I think he may be the only person in men's curling who is a little bit taller than the big guy.
14.
That's a nice throw from Amos. Hösli can still access that yellow, but there's a second red in there as a bit of an insurance shot.
Voll 12. Viertel versteckt. That is all doen.
Rios really having a look at this and thinking, how can we try to get more than 1 point here? The Italians won't mind at all if they give up 1 point. Then it would be Italy who has last stone advantage back in the third end. Objectives in this second end, exactly the reverse of the first end, where we saw nice play from Hösli team to limit the Italians, forcing them to a difficult shot with their last stone and not managing to pick up 2, and that is exactly what the Italians will be wanting to do now in this second end. That throw from Marco Hefti, again just trying to set up some angles. When you see play towards the centre like this, the team's really trying to set up good angles, keep control of that front of house area,
Questa non va mai qua.
Perché quella lì gialla lei. Sì, 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 no, no.
Non giocherei per slash qua. Cosa pensavi questa tu? Ma questa non va mai qua.
Ah, sì, devo bozzare questo.
And now it's the Italians wondering, okay, how can we limit the Swiss here?
Esatto. C'è un terzo.
A few dangerous yellows
terzo
hanging around
scarso.
now.
Anche un quarto. Sì.
Yeah, I don't think they really want, I was going to say, I don't think they really want the double here because, well, I'm not sure there is a double here because I think that yellow near the centre line, I don't think that's going anywhere. But certainly they want to hit that open yellow and then maybe just roll in front to block. So big throw from the big man. Oh, that's the double he was going for. What a beauty.
1 minuut van geld, hè?
Pick that out.
Ze is aan het dun proberen.
Super throw from Amos Mazaner, clearing out two dangerous yellows, including the shot stone, and it's now that little red just on the left of the centre line. That's now the shot, and very difficult for Philip Hösli to access that.
Aber dann musst du 11 musst sicher spielen so.
Ja.
Sehr wahrscheinlich fast 10.
Ja, das zahlt vielleicht gleich mit intern.
And over on our other semi-final, I know we have often our friends from Asia Pac region. They will be
So etwas.
interested to
Sehr
keep
dünn,
eyes
was
on
würdest du lieber?
our other semi-final. That's between the team from Korea and the Swiss team André Schnider.
Vom Wisch her habe ich das Gefühl, der ist besser, vom Winkel wäre der besser.
And that was a steal of 1 point to André Schnider's team in the second end. So it is Schnider who is 1-0 ahead of the Koreans after 2 ends. So Cesar, big Italian fan, very pleased with his hero's huge double takeout there.
Justin! Ja!
Nicht schlecht.
And that's a good throw from Marco Hefti again, that nice controlled weight. He just wants to move things around a bit.
Ma è un po' di qua. 11.
Hast recht gehabt.
Most of the shots when we're playing towards the centre, you'll see the teams more trying to set up angles, keep stones in that control area ahead of tee, set up some angles, and then later on in the end, take a run at it, as we saw Amos Mazaner just doing, and try to remove everything. And good effort from Marco Hefti, but unfortunately that yellow is out in the open, and Joel Retornaz, I think, will be able to see all of it. And just rolling away to the other side, but that's fine as well. If that red had rolled more towards the centre line, that might have left a little pocket that Hösli could swing a stone round and sit on it. So actually rolling away to the side, that removes the yellow shot stone, and it doesn't leave any backing for the Swiss. So nice throw there from Joel, nice and controlled. Looks like Dennis in the chat. Hello Dennis, ciao to you. Another Italian fan.
2/3, ja, dort umeinander.
11,5. Ist das gut?
Finde ich gut. Ja.
Always very popular, this Italian team. I am also a well-known fan of Retornaz team.
Da vorne so nach der Hock könnte es noch ein bisschen frisch sein.
Ja.
Für die Wischer.
Bisschen dranbleiben.
Hösli then, not really much space to score one at the moment, and deciding to try to mix things up a bit. Throw bigger weight at this yellow and try and move those reds around a bit.
Linie gut. Ja.
Wow!
Oh. Oh.
Justin.
Schießel.
Halt.
Also Tasch.
Halt! Halt!
Also Tasch.
Halt!
Justin Hauser trying to catch the curl now.
Okay.
And that's a decent result. He certainly moved those two reds around a bit. There's now space to get to that red that's just on the button. And that was the most important outcome for that shot, was to make himself some space. I think he realised that they were probably going to be looking at quite a few Italian counters. And actually, if Joel can now get a roll towards the centre rather than away, Philip Hösli is going to have a difficult final throw here in the second end. This yellow fully open.
Whoa. Whoa. Clean.
This should be pretty straightforward for the Italians here.
Whoa.
It's all about the roll. Can they get the roll towards the centre? Not quite.
Hinter 4. Hinter 8.
Small let off for Philip Hösli, but he's still looking at relatively difficult shot. It's never nice playing against 4 opposition counters. That puts a lot of pressure on this shot. Of course, it's normally Philip's brother Marco who is throwing 4th stones. Philip, fairly experienced as well, throwing 4th in juniors and university games. But still an adjustment. Marco on the right there, he's normally 2nd thrower and Philip normally 3rd. And this weekend throwing 3rd and 4th respectively. Always a bit of an adjustment.
Ja.
Well done.
Whoa. Whoa.
Clean.
Clean.
No chance to score 2 then, and important stone.
Ja, Höfli, also Tasch.
Halt!
Trying to make sure they score 1 here. The stone needs to catch the curl. They can't have it slipping past. Big sweep from Marco Hefti to try to encourage the curl. And now a big sweep from Mattia Giovanella. And they did not find the right line on that one at all. We said that was a difficult shot against a bunch of Italian counters, and so it was. And that looked like a big steal of 3 red counters. Just rolling a few centimetres too far there. Unlucky for Philip Hösli. I think a score of 3 against was maybe a little bit not fully deserved, but great entry from the Italians. They really kept it clean. Big clear out from Amos Mazzana and very well controlled. So I think that was a steal of 3, and that means after 2 ends then it will be 4-0 Retornaz leading Team Hösli. The score then confirmed.
14-42.
That was a huge steal of 3 points to the Italians in the second end. Dennis in the chat, Italian fans saying oops, and that was a big oops for Hösli. Not a terrible throw from Philip Hösli, they just couldn't quite find the curl, and there were all those Italian counters lying around. A little bit unlucky that their stone rolled a few centimetres as far as it did. Hösli's team, it could have been just really a steal of 1, but yeah, that stone just wouldn't stop rolling, and eventually a steal of 3. So a big advantage for the Italians early in this game. That makes the tactics pretty straightforward. Still plenty of ends. We have 6 ends left. We play 8 ends here in Adelboden. Plenty of ends left for Team Hösli, but we will see the Italians, I'm sure, just keeping a tight lid on things now. It's maybe slightly early to hit for home, but I'm sure we'll see just clean play from the Italians. Not too many stones in play, not really stones out front. Mattia Giovanella aiming to put both of his stones on top of the forefoot, and he's done that beautifully. Mattia now full-time playing with this Italian men's team. Previous thrower, lead thrower Simone Gonin, he's focusing on mixed doubles this season. But Mattia, long-time alternate with this team, already pretty familiar with how the team plays and having a super start. They made quarterfinals in Baden a couple of weeks ago. They won the competition in Scotland last weekend. And having a pretty bright weekend here in Adelboden. Two real nice throws from Justin Hauser, setting up that double corner guard. That's how Hösli team will get back into this game, is setting up corner guards, dragging the play away from the centre. Always lots of communication. As soon as the stone is released, then the sweepers call ahead what kind of weight they think it is. And Joel at the other end constantly telling them about the line. We've still got place. Sorry, speaking English-German now. We've still got space, so no need to sweep or try to sweep to catch the curl or try to sweep straight. Lots of communication, and you'll see all the best teams communicating all the time. And Marco tripping over that stone there. I think it's, yeah, just a couple centimetres back to the left. Something like that, yeah. Looks like you could see a little patch exactly where the stone was. And not a big deal in curling if that happens. If you just kick a stone by mistake on the way past, then the other team just puts the stone back where they think it was. It's a different matter if you touch the running stone. So if you accidentally stand on a stationary stone, that's not a big deal. But if you touch a running stone, then that's removed immediately. Unless it's crossed the hog line, and then it gets rather complicated. But you won't see that very much at this level. Sometimes in the club, when you're sweeping,
Linea buona.
you see someone accidentally touch the running stone with their brush while they're sweeping, and then you take that stone away immediately.
Oh. Oh. Giù, giù, giù. Giù. Giù, Mattia. Giù. Giù. Ok, lì.
The Italians don't need points. They're not really so interested in stealing this end. They have a big cushion of 4 points at the moment. What they're really just trying to do is make sure that Hösli's team can't set up big points in this end. Happy hitter, Martin Rios. All these boys from Glanos, they can really throw a stone. And oh dear, that's done neither one thing nor the other. He didn't manage to pop that yellow back onto the red, and he has also left that guard lying out front. Life not getting any easier for Team Hösli. I think poor old Philip on the left there, already anticipating another tricky throw for him with his last stone. What a nice action shot that is. Amos Mazzaner's first throw in this third end.
Oh. Ah. Sì, vai, vai, vai. Falla passare, dai.
And actually coming up a bit short as well, that stone. The guys sweeping the ice, maybe they feel like it went over a little piece of fluff or something. When you have lovely smart new hoodies like the Italian boys do, always put them through the wash first. Otherwise, indeed, sometimes you end up with little pieces of fleece or fluff on the ice, and if your stone rolls over a piece of fluff, it can be disastrous. Sounds funny when you see it, not funny in real life.
Auftun sind wir uns einig?
Ja.
Oder würdet ihr drum?
Nein, nein. Auftun ist gut.
Yeah, I think you need to open a bit of space here.
Dass so etwas vielleicht möglich ist.
I think we need to steady the ship for Team Hösli. I think they, even if they just score 1 point here, they can't afford to let the Italians get any further away in points. Otherwise, this game is going to start getting too far away from them. I think they need to start scoring in this end, and I think they do need to clear a bit of space. That red on the forefoot is really closing the scoring area.
Yes!
No.
Concentration from Marco Hefti. And this looks better. And that's exactly what Rio said he thought would happen, is that that yellow would spin over and then spring itself into the house, and it does. And that's a nice result for Marco Hefti there. He's cleared out 2 guards on the centre, and he's sprung himself in behind that corner. Still some work to do for Hösli team, but looking a lot nicer now. Our winner here of the semi-final, they will play the winner of the semi-final on the right of our screen. That's Team Jeong from Korea. They're playing young Andrew Schnider's team from Switzerland.
Linea buona, linea buona. Vai. Yep. Oh.
And it looks like that was another blank end there in the third. Very tight stuff over there. It is still 1-0 to Andrew Schnider.
Con la mano un po'.
our Korean friends really making the most of their European adventure. They were in Scotland last weekend as well. They played a couple of Scottish teams, one of the American teams, Michael Brunner's team from Switzerland. So they're really getting great experience of how these European teams play. It's getting harder and harder to qualify from Asia Pacific region for Worlds or for Olympics. And I'm sure this will really boost the Koreans' chances when they bring all that experience back to Asia Pac. And we, of course, delighted to have our very first Asia Pac team here at Adelboden. And we were very much enjoying the Koreans' diversity brushes yesterday. They have, there you are, just on the right of your screen there. Kim's brush there. It has a lovely cheerful rainbow wrapped around the bottom, and very much appreciating the diversity brooms in the Korean team.
Anche così.
Still looks like advantage Italy in this third end, but that yellow just thrown by Marco Hefti, that's definitely a danger. Again, they need to be careful with this one. Those two reds in the forefoot just waiting to catch this yellow if Joel gets the angle wrong. I think we will see, again, a controlled weight at this, just to make sure that the stone has a chance to curl. You don't want the stone hanging out.
Oh, clean, clean.
Clean.
And there we are, just the right amount of curl to hit and roll in behind. Really nice throw from Joel there. And actually, I have an update on the score in the other semi-final. It wasn't a blank end. They were a little bit slower to put the score up there. That was 1 point to the Koreans, actually. So after 3 ends in the semi-final between Team Jeong from Korea and Team Schnider from Switzerland, it is 1 each. I would not be surprised if that semi-final finds its way to an extra end as well. I would say Andrew Schnider, their team, they get involved in more than their fair share of extra ends. They really fight to the very last centimetre of the very last stone, Andrew Schnider's team. Philip Hösli then going for the freeze on this back red, and he's pretty good. Gosh, he's being challenged this morning, Philip Hösli. He's not had a straightforward shot in 3 ends. And this time, I think we will see a bigger weight from Joel. I think he knows that he's going to sacrifice the red behind that yellow as well. So bigger weight from Joel this time. And springing out everything. The 2 sweepers just looking down, making sure there aren't any stones coming to skittle them. And good stuff from the Italians. Again, no chance for Philip Hösli to score 2 points here. He's having to make a real careful shot to just use that red and flop off and land towards the centre, but again facing a whole heap of Italian counters. And Poor old Philip Hösli having a real tough morning so far. So big shot for Philip Hösli here.
Immer Höfti.
Ja, line een klein.
Immer Höfti.
They didn't quite find the right line
Goed, klein.
with their last throw in the second end, and it really cost them.
Okay, T-line jetzt.
Jetzt haben wir kein Bouncer mehr.
This sounds better.
Wenn wir lang sind, müssen wir.
This one looks like it's got just the right curl. Oh, is it going to stop though? It didn't catch the edge of the red after all, and Marco Hefti looking a bit disappointed finally. I wonder if they missed a sweeping call there. I think I heard someone say 2, and again it's just a matter of centimetres out there, even millimetres. But that was another steal for the Italians. Oh, that was a steal of 2. So everything going wrong for Hösli team this morning. And in tennis, we would really say those are forced errors. It's not unforced errors. It's not really that Hösli's team are making huge mistakes. They're just really under pressure from the really precise, consistent play from the Italians. We've seen poor old Philip Hösli throwing against a whole heap of Italian stones every end. But this game's starting to get away from the Höslis. That's a big score of 2 to the Italians. And they now lead 6 points to 0 going into this fourth end.
14,80. Va bene.
Same drill then for the Höslis. Philip's life at last stone is not going to get any easier. They have got to play aggressive now. They have to start getting points on the board here. If you're a fan of the Italian team though, you're having a pretty good morning so far. From here, I would really expect the Italians to just stay on top of this game, keep things clean, close it out. And that's pretty much what they'll be thinking. They're always very professional, the Italians. They will not be thinking ahead, not yet. They will really be focusing stone by stone. We get another action shot of Mattia Giovanella's tremendous soaks. Excellent soak game from the Italians, always looking very sharp in their uniforms. I've heard that there are some soaks actually that have their own Twitter account. I know there are several curling hats who are quite famous and have their own Twitter account. Justin Hauser for Team Hösli. Again, nobody really in Team Hösli having a terrible game. Not quite. It's more that they're just under a lot of pressure from the Italians' consistent throwing. The Höslis facing degree of difficulty shots much higher actually than the Italians, because the Italians, they can afford to be conservative now, whereas Hösli team cannot. They're having to go for the difficult shots, they're having to go for the aggressive stuff, and that's always the higher risk for higher reward.
Non la go. La prima 14,80. 14,5 va bene.
And both of those ends there, the final stones in the third end and in the second end, Philip Hösli really millimetres away from being fine, actually. But that's the difference at this level. It really is a matter of centimetres.
No, ma le girate pure lo stesso, le tue.
No, questa non era male. Mire gol l'output.
Clip plat.
Oh, oh, oh.
Warte met gaat.
Warte. Wird besser.
Nee, niet goed oké.
No, like mire sta con fuori. Out.
Heftig. Heftig gaan we. Ja, brengen. Yep.
No, ti vedevo sto pesasse, ma
And that's better for Martin Rios.
le versate spaccate, questa era perfetta,
You have to have good courage in this situation. You know you're going to be looking at a big heap of opposition stones in the centre, but this is still the right tactic. This is the most likely way for Team Hösli to pick up a couple of points now. They really need to work hard to try to score 2 in this fourth end, try to get themselves back into this game.
Einfach, ja, ist recht gerade da. Es ist, wenn wir nur den Freeze spielen, ist das nicht gut.
Ja, en zahlt auch de doppel.
Aha.
Wenn aussen zijn halt.
Nein, nein. Ja, probieren mit hinten 8, so ein Pocket-Tapper, haben vielleicht dort noch mal etwas.
Ja, gaan we nou daar überleiten.
So the question now is,
Kommst du da hin?
Ich glaube es schon, aber vielleicht auch nicht.
Bist du nachher an dieser
question
Kurve?
now is, okay, we've still got one nice yellow tucked in behind cover. And we know the Italians are likely to attack that next, so where should we try to put a second yellow?
Direkt so.
Try to keep that a bit safer from the Italians.
Vals. Vorne 4, dann gleich euch wie der.
Ja, Maxis, hä?
Ja, okay. 4 ist gut. Ein bisschen weiter aus.
Weit aus, hä, Boys?
Warte mal.
Görlet.
Linie kommt okay. Vorne 4. F3 jetzt.
Oh, oh, oh.
14-4. Alles ruhig. Vorne 4. Ring nehmen kannst.
And that's as good a spot as any. What's important is that they don't want the Italians to have a double takeout opportunity. We can deal with those reds maybe a little bit later. But we don't want both yellows being able to disappear, and that's achieved that.
Ja, Maxis nicht.
Tre quarti interna.
Ich habe es auch gut gefunden. Ich habe gedacht, ich kann da noch mit dem Justin, aber so wieder ein bisschen sehr Natur.
But nothing wrong with just removing the guard now. A big peel from the big guy. Oh, and for an encore, he does get the shot behind it, but redirects that back towards the centre and jams it onto the back of the forefoot. So could this be a chance for the Höslis to start building some points here? Alberto in the chat seems to be enjoying the Italian team's performance this morning as well. They've certainly given themselves a huge boost to try to get to this final here.
Wenn wir da sind, sind einfach 2 Steine von ihnen, die besser sind. Ist okay für mich?
Für mich bei dem Score eigentlich auch. 8, länge gut.
Ist hier noch ein bisschen breit.
4,
Ist hier noch breit, wenn dann Vieh. He? Ja, musst. Bis da, he? Bis da. Bis da. Oh, oh, nicht zu tief, 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 nicht zu tief. Gut.
Deci bine, nu și mai să te ingredienti un po' di nostra adesso.
Genau, sonst wird der Doppel immer einfacher. Die Steinbreite höher.
Un quarto!
Das ist einfach ein Mühe viel.
Va bene? Un quarto! Oh! Eh! Eh! Oh! Oh!
Bravo.
Bravo.
gut.
Potevano anche passare, che la metterli anche.
Vor 4 Beissen ist die Länge.
Ja, ist halt spezielle Händler, aber es läuft gleich. Ja. Okay.
No.
Linea
Oh,
guarda.
se volevo fare quel fen OP,
Chi?
o giocare ancora che
Clean, clean, linea ist nicht. Oh,
Vedi,
warte,
mi
warte,
gira
warte,
tirare via la
warte,
guardia,
muss
manca
flicken,
guardia
Erlen.
resta.
Oh,
Ti deve piacere.
oh,
4,
Justin wenn dann.
warte. Jetzt. Ja.
Jetzt kommt er. Wow,
Nur Lini.
wow.
Länge mir immer das Mühe.
Also dann kannst du. Yes!
It's getting a bit dispiriting for Team Hösli. No matter what they do, they cannot seem to find a way
Di
past
quale?
the Italian defence.
Tirava via sicura, questa lascia in pacca.
But this is all they can do
Vabbè,
is just
magari la
keep
salta
getting
un po'
those
su.
yellow stones there,
Qua
keep
lì,
stones in play.
Ah sì, faccio
Un
parlare
po' più piena quasi.
piena, sì, tipo 2/3.
Sì.
Sì. Dopo non so, credo che la si blocchi qua.
Vedendo qua.
Con 2/3 sei sicuri che non è
Dai,
forza
Galber,
fare nada?
Sì, sì.
Sì, sì, dai.
A parte che non la vedo neanche a 2/3.
Ah ok.
Pilde quella lì. Sì, sì. Non va via l'altra.
Weißt du, wenn wir auf der Innenseite liegen, dann bringen wir ja
Dritt,
nicht
lì mi dico.
Also, wohl.
Ja, er wird Guard spielen, wenn wir
Eben,
den
ja.
in die Corner gehen.
Eben, ja. Wow, wow!
Clean.
Clean! Sind wir mal auf dem Scoreboard?
Ja.
Wow, wow!
Giocare un po' safe tanto.
No, no, ma tanto non cambia niente.
Also da treffen.
Nein, so. Du kannst einen Shot machen.
Eh?
Sì, shot anche.
Sì, no, infatti.
Jetzt würde ich ein bisschen mehr.
Io mi trovo sulla guardia, se proprio.
Sì, appunto.
Ja, okay. Müssen wir ja, etwa halb, he? Dick halb, 2/3.
Ja, ich glaube,
2/3 treffen.
dünner als 2/3 ist nicht gut.
Nein.
Aber wir können andererseits eigentlich auch so. Ein Doppel wird er sowieso haben, glaube ich.
Ich glaube auch, ja.
Dann machen wir es uns einfacher, oder?
Ich glaube auch, ja.
Fällt dir der Outturn, oder?
So.
Ja.
Okay.
10, oder? Hat gespielt?
Ich hätte... Dort umeinander, ja.
Ich hätte aber viel weniger eingegeben als das. 10. So etwas, ja. 10, auch. So 3/4 umeinander.
Clean, clean.
Justin.
Ja.
Halt.
Justin.
Halt!
Weiter, weiter, weiter,
Halt!
weiter, weiter,
Halt!
weiter!
Guarda o... Ma sì.
Un quarto. Ich glaube, ein bisschen vor der T-Line angefangen. Der, der drauf an, meinst du? Man muss die Kräfte sperren lassen, weit halten. Das Gefühl, kommt drauf an.
Quarto.
Ja. Ich glaube, unsere Chancen, wenn wir nicht den Zweier machen, sind es im tiefen einstelligen Bereich. Da sind es auch nach dem Einstelligen, aber...
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Jo!
Jo.
Wow!
Wow. Wow. Line. No.
Comunque sono rischioso questa equipe. Dopo le vera classifica safe, però anche a me perché Dio cane no, è vera, non è sicurezza, però va che sbaglia lo sanno bel tiro già.
Ja! Ja!
Sì, sì, sì.
Yes!
Disgrazia mali sul tempo dritto. Perché ti fa gusto di farlo.
Ja!
Halt! Ja, geweest.
Gut. 11-9.
From Joe Retornaz and
Gut so.
poor old Hösli team.
Dort.
Picking up one there, but again, no chance to pick up two. These Italians are just relentless.
Bella linea anche a me dico.
And
Sorry, dass ich den nicht
Team
gesagt
Hösli's
habe.
morning
Sogar vor der Tee anfangen.
really not getting any easier out there. Just whatever they seem to set up is getting neutralised by the firepower of the Italian boys. So picking up one there in that fourth end. So at the halfway, the score is Joe Retornaz of Italy 6, Team Hösli of Switzerland 1. Over in the other semi-final, they are also in their fifth end now. And that was a big score of 2 to the Koreans. So the score over in our other semi-final, it is Team Jeong from Korea 3, Team Schnider from Switzerland 1.
L'hai fatta carica anche maniera
Immer Vieh ist eng. Immer Vieh. Einfach drüber und ab.
Is er gehakt.
Cinque.
Ok.
Jetzt Mühe eng. Kann ich das Gefühl.
Wow.
And I think we're now in the second half of this semi-final. I think we probably will see the Italians
Solo giù semmai.
roughly hit for home.
Deve scendere.
They do have last stone now in this fifth end.
Ok, mezza aperta normale. Ok. 14-7.
Again, I don't think they'll quite have one eye on the final. It's not
No.
quite that, but they will be wanting to
Kann noch ein bisschen berühren auch.
try to close out this game as efficiently as possible.
No. Ma chi noi giocavamo per 5? Chi noi giocavamo per 5-6? Io giocavo per... Cioè meglio...
Linie ist gut.
Così.
Macht auch wenig viel am Schluss. Linie ist super. Nur Länge. Eine Hüftli noch. Eine Hüfte.
Weg. Sorry.
Ja, ist gut.
Gut so.
So, der finde ich jetzt ist gut.
Muss narco laut?
Im Sliding.
Era per non lasciare questo a loro.
Also ich habe von Anfang an das Gefühl, also dann hast du einfach loslassen.
Team Hösli, again, no choice. They have to go all out aggressive. They're going to have to try to beat the Italians to the centre here.
Linea buona. Linea. 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 Hard. Linea. Linea vicina. Linea perfetta.
Another perfect start here from Mattia Giovanella,
So, jetzt ein Drumrum.
Probieren wir, oder?
having a great start as a full-time player in the Italian team.
Was ist das? Got button.
Wie?
Got button.
Ja, ich glaube auch, hinten 4 ist auch noch recht gut.
Gut.
Seine ist 15-3.
Schau auch gerade Maxis. Schau gerade Maxis. Ich finde es okay.
No, così
Ja.
il cane.
Danke.
Läuft lang gerade. Ist auch ein kurzer.
Ma che ieri non si fa niente. Quel che mi ha sorpreso il gatto.
Heftig. Yep.
No, sono scordato anche il gatto.
Yep.
Canone tira.
Achtung, Justin.
tanta roba.
Oh, len einfach sitzen.
Ai, Rios. Jetzt fahre ich auch noch.
And nothing much going right for Hösli at the moment. There's no use through the back, but
3/4, 2/3.
Italy, yeah, they're just going to now start removing cover. Again, this might look like a funny idea. Italy has 2 stones
Clean.
in behind those yellow guards, but Italy just wants to keep things clear, and Ramma beautifully removing
Ball ist auch.
2 and his own stone.
Vorne 4.
Guards are dangerous to Italy. Italy got a huge cushion of 5 points. They don't need to score big here, but they will be thinking now of how to close this game out, really, from here.
Boden.
How to maximise
Vorne 4.
that nice cushion of 5 points. And even if Italy would just score 1 point here,
Ja.
Ja.
Clean.
they will have that cushion of 6 points again.
Oh, von allein. Einfach sitzen.
And the easiest way to score anything is
Sehr gut.
if there isn't a big pile of stones out front. And that's what will be guiding Italy's thinking here.
Sind wir uns einig?
Ja, ich habe vorne 4 gesagt.
Ah, sì,
Vorne 4
sì,
spielen
sì,
dann noch.
salta forte.
Du bist, oder? Hast du nicht tiefer wollen? Der Rot.
Così.
Nein, ich finde okay.
Sì.
Ich finde okay.
Anche quello.
Ich finde, ist,
Meglio.
das Resultat ist etwa wie bestellt, oder?
Ja.
Weiter weg.
Ist gut so.
So no more guards for you,
Clean.
Hösli team. Another big PO from Sebastiano Alman, bringing the game into the house then, is the idea.
Ich hätte jetzt mal noch so einen gespielt.
Ja.
And again, Hösli not really trying to guard the Italian stones, they're more trying to put up a guard that they can use later on.
Com'è? Sì, sì, sì.
Wow.
No, ma che... Sì, sì, sempre. Però gioca bene.
Via.
Ma che non...
Ja. Wie. Yes. Gut so, Höfli.
Nice placement of the guard. They're looking to try to get a mistake from the Italians here.
Gut so.
Maybe driving the guard straight back or leaving a stone lying around. But yeah, unlikely with the Italian middle order here.
Und auch überlegt. Ich habe dann so, oder?
Ja. Der da vielleicht.
Freeze einfach.
7 Achtel aussen.
Als Tap.
Maybe
Ja.
time to switch up the tactics
Und dann
then.
So.
Freeze überlegt.
Ja, ist möglich.
Wird reinschiessen und dann. Weiss nicht, kannst du wahrscheinlich
The degree of difficulty though of these shots for Hösli's team getting tougher and tougher.
Der 7 Achtel aussen mit der T-Line. Ja.
Yeah, you could maybe freeze your own yellow and then spring that with the next shot, or yeah, maybe put a yellow in behind the back of everything
Wahrscheinlich einfach die zwei weg.
and
Oder einfach den hinten holen.
anticipate moving those reds a little bit later in the end.
Wenn wir da etwas machen, habe ich das Gefühl.
Ja,
mit
ich
dem
glaube
ersten.
Ich will, glaube ich, entweder Nase freezen oder da rundum.
Meinst du so etwas oder so?
Ich will nicht tappen. Ich will beim Freezer noch nicht tappen. Ehrlich gesagt. Ich habe das Gefühl, wenn wir jetzt tappen, das sind Geschichten. Hä? Was ist noch Freeze? Nein, da ändert sich ja nichts. Da müssen wir nachher etwas machen, oder?
Aber wenn wir ein bisschen höher sind, ist es besser, als wenn wir ein bisschen übergörlen.
Okay, ist gut.
I think this is the most likely way to get a steal. So they want to put a yellow right in front of their own yellow, and that means it will take at least 2 stones to remove them.
So, immer 4, ja, ist eng. Ja, 4. 4, 3. 4.
And really the likelihood of Hösli being able to steal in this end, little bit small.
Übergörlen, ja. 3, 12.
But this is all they can do is keep trying to set themselves up. They've got the line quite nicely there, but the weight was not quite right.
That's it.
But really, whatever Hösli's team played,
Tappen.
the Italians were probably going to hit something.
Nur Steinbreite. Eine halbe.
Aha, so, ja, das finde ich okay. Der Rotbewegen.
Ich finde, wir müssen einfach etwas haben. wenn's läuft.
Ja, das schon. Ich finde der Rotbewegen viel sind unsere Geschichten.
Nein, eben. Ich würde 7
Another
Achtel.
big throw from the big man.
Also, Natur von. Also, Natur. Ich würde ihn hier hintappen.
Ja, das finde ich okay.
Und
The
Nose
Italians
ist
really just
okay.
keeping this
7
clean now.
Achtel ist auch das Beste, oder?
Ich finde Nase gut.
Ja, einfach übergörlen ist nichts.
Ja.
Wieder.
Ja, klar.
Dann haben sie Nose it und das ist.
Ja. T-Line.
Ja. Die Line ist close.
Es ist mir weniger gegeben, glaubst du?
Bin ja gut. Bin ja gut.
Easy. Clean.
Oh. Oh.
Clean.
Clean. Ja.
Wow.
Oh.
Justin.
Justin.
Finger.
15-4.
Halt.
Second attempt
Hi.
then at this
Ja, ja, noch mit,
freeze,
noch mit.
and
Gut so.
yeah,
auch
that's
nicht.
nice from Philip Hösli. I think
Right, so-
definitely
Gut so, ja.
one of those yellows will be hanging around after the next stone from Italy.
Gut so.
Schau, ein bisschen weiter raus, bleibt es viel länger gerade. Hüfte sind
And it looks like we have another fan from Asia Pacific region. Gosh, what a game going on over there. We may be able to take a look over there, depending on what happens in our featured game here.
Aber so haben wir einfach etwas mal noch zum Shot legen.
But what a response from Andrew Schnider's team, bouncing back with a big score of 3. And that means after 5 ends over there, the score is 4 points to 3. Still plenty of excitement happening over in that semi-final. They're on their 6th end. We have our official event photographer, Celine. She's taking photos again today. And you can find some nice action shots on the tournament's Facebook and Instagram pages.
Rama, Rama.
Just as they thought then, only 1 yellow available to remove for the Italians and 1 yellow still lying around.
Just as Riese Pfund.
Kämmer, ich glaube, der ist schon da.
Ja?
Ich glaube, der wäre schon da.
Ich glaube, der ist da, ja.
Aber
Ich glaube, der Killer ist schwieriger.
ja.
Philip Hösli will need to
Der muss einfach sehr schnell sein, glaub ich.
attack that yellow,
Oder?
try and spring
Ja.
both of the reds
Ja,
behind
sonst
it.
ist einfach der noch da und der zweite ist irgendwo da. Und der ist aber noch im Spiel.
And try and find a good spot for the shooter as well.
Mit intern. Einfach da in der Linie.
Ja, ist gut.
Wenn es der nicht killt, ist okay, oder?
Ist close to nose, ja.
Ah, da. Spielt schnell. Es können alle Roten gehen. So könnten wahrscheinlich alle Roten gehen.
Huge throw from Philip Hösli, gives that a big shove at the end.
Ah, shit.
Oof. Joel standing by to catch that before it skittles someone in the next drink.
Okay. Rinse it out then.
I'm not completely sure what the ideal outcome from that throw was.
Haben wir noch Gas, dann kann man noch in die Kille.
Maybe there was some kind of triple takeout on, but unfortunately, I think opportunity for Italy
Soll ich sagen, nichts, einfach mal
to
nichts.
put another big score up here.
Länge ist schon präzise.
And Italy professional as ever. This game's not over till it's over for them,
Congrats. Well played.
but that is enough.
Auguriamos.
Yeah, just not Team Hösli's day this morning.
Congrats. Well played.
Don't go away, viewers.
Per la finale.
We are going to try
Per la finale.
to take a look at what's going on in the other semi-final. But yes, strong performance from the Italians today. Nothing much going right for last year's champions, Philip Hösli's team. They will be
Sorry, Vieh.
defeated this time. There will be a new champion. Neither Joe Retornaz's team or either of the Koreans or Andrei Schnider's team, neither of those teams or none of those 3 teams have won this competition before. Whatever happens, we will have a new champion today. But we already have one team in the final. That is Team Joel Retornaz of Italy. And who will be joining them? Let's keep eyes on the other semi-final. It is Andrei Schnider's team throwing yellow stones. And they are against our guests from Korea. Team Jeong throwing red stones. So the Italians, they can go and have a bit of an early lunch. They will be very happy about that. Whoever their opposition will be has spent a little bit longer on ice. Maybe that will affect the energy levels later. But really professional performance from Joe Retornaz's team, keeping up their winning ways. They won the Euro Super Series event in Scotland last weekend. And they went through that competition undefeated in Scotland, and they are undefeated so far here in Adelboden as well. So final score in the first semi-final was 9 points to 1 for Joel Retornaz over Team Hösli. Megan's been staying up late to watch curling. Thank you for your company, superfan Megan, as always. And yes, hopefully we shall have a fun final for you to wake up to tomorrow morning. So we're missing now the sound from the ice hall, but we've managed to rearrange the cameras so that we can keep an eye on this semi-final. Oh, there we are. We have the sound from the ice hall back again. That's always helpful to give a bit atmosphere. Yeah, really close game out there. It's 4 points to 3. Andre Schnider's team, the yellow team in front of you. They're leading the Koreans. What a fight Schnider's team had last night. They were playing Lukáš Klima's team from Czech Republic in the quarter-final. And what a fight that was, going all the way to an extra end. And Andre Schnider having to draw the forefoot for the game, and he did. They have really fought their way to get here, Schnider's team. And looking quite nicely set up in the sixth end in their semi-final. It's the Koreans who won their group. The Koreans qualifying straight for the semi-final yesterday. They were undefeated in their group. It was the Italians, Retornaz's team, who were undefeated in their group. So those two teams qualifying directly for semi-finals. Andre Schnider's team having to really fight their way there. And really fighting now. Looking nicely set up here in the sixth end. It's the Koreans who have last stone. But all kinds of yellow lying around. Yeah, if you're red, what are you trying to do about all of those yellows in the house? Oh, thanks for that nice curling fact, Megan. The Jeong team, the Koreans here, they will also be travelling to Canada to play a bunch of events there. They're really investing in themselves, the Koreans. Good for them. With their awesome diversity brushes. And that's nice from Lee. They've cleared a little bit of space on that anti-clockwise handle, and they've got a nice red now ahead of T. The sixth end always pretty pivotal in these games, in these tight games. You often see both teams really trying to go after the sixth end, trying to make a decisive move in the game. That's nice from Nicola Stoll, just taking the angle away on that red. No access to that red to promote it onto the yellow. I'm sure Andrew Schnider's team, they would love another go at the Italians. The Italians were in their group earlier on in the weekend. And again, that game went to an extra end. But it was the Italians who closed it out that time. I'm sure Schnider's team would love to have a second crack at the Italians. They were ever so close to winning their game during the round robin. But the Koreans undefeated so far. Still very close this game. All to play for. And nice idea with that stone. Again, I'm not too sure how it helps them. I'm not convinced it set up a good angle. They may be thinking that those two stones are, those two reds in front there, they're nice and safe now in the front, and they're maybe thinking that with the last stone they want to try to attack that yellow and maybe even try to sit 3. But access to that yellow, not so straightforward. I think we're going to see a guard from Andy Schnider here. Just lock up that anti-clockwise handle. That yellow at the back of the forefoot now a little bit more vulnerable, but plenty of cover out front. And I imagine Schnider aiming to just block up that gap now. And he does. That's nice stuff. I don't think that yellow can get past that red, so no double takeout available for Korea. That's really carefully placed there from Schnider. So how are the Koreans going to get to that back yellow now? They think they can get still on the clockwise handle around the back of everything. I don't think they're aiming for the yellow though. I think they're just aiming to outdraw that yellow now. Quite a complicated end out here. This is exactly the kind of situation we saw yesterday evening when Schnider's team were playing Team Klima from Czech Republic. It was pretty much the same thing. I think Klima's team did score 1 in the 6th end, handing last stone to Schnider's team. Schnider's team were aiming for the blank in the 7th end, and unexpectedly were able to pick up 2 instead. Very similar situation here then. They'll be quite happy if the Koreans simply score 1. And then Schnider's team would have last stone advantage in the 7th end. And I'm sure we would see them aiming to blank that 7th end and hold on to all-important last stone advantage in the 8th end, but no chance of a blank in the 6th end unless the Koreans can come up with some sort of quintuple raise takeout. I'm not sure anyone can throw a stone that hard. Although I'm sure there are some big boys out there who would love to try. Schnider's team just a bit nervous if there is some kind of angled raise onto that yellow at the back, because then they could end up losing 2 points here, which is not what they want. They'll just be asking themselves, all right then, where do we need to place a stone so that it's too difficult for Korea? As is often the case, the 6th end generating much jibber-jabber. But it's an important end. By the time the 6th end is done, you've only got 2 ends left. So if you lose a big score in the 6th end, or even if you lose sometimes a 2 in the 6th end, sometimes you do not really have enough ends left to catch that score up again. So big throw for Andrew Schnider, trying to protect that yellow at the back. Trying to force a real tricky shot from the Koreans. It looks like they decided that the Koreans' best idea would be to promote the red on the left of the centre line. Not that one, but the other red, and that's why they were guarding it. Taking that shot away from Korea, and now forcing Korea to really go for a bit of a Hail Mary. Definitely makeable, but much harder. This shot, yeah, look at the angle you need. I think you might have to borrow some ice from the other sheet almost. Just looking at where do we need to connect that that red to redirect onto the yellow. Well worth it then, that discussion that Andrew Schnider team had to make sure they've considered all the options. And just taking away what they reckon would be the easier shot for Korea. That would have been to promote the red more sort of in the middle of the free guard zone. And now Korea being forced to go for a really awkward angle. This will be huge if he makes it. If he makes this shot, he might even score 3. A lot at stake here. The Italians are already waiting in the final for the winner of this game. The Italians undefeated in this competition. They won all 4 of their round-robin games. Very dominant performance in that semi-final against last year's champions, Team Hösli. And neither team dominant in the second semi-final.
This looks a good fight out there. The Koreans also undefeated so far. Schnider's team having much more of a fight to get to this semi-final, but absolutely keeping pace with the Koreans. So here it comes. Big fancy angle shot from Jeong by Yeongjin. Sounds close. Oh! Just catching the yellow, so the guard did its job. And that's a big steal of 1 to Andrew Schnider's team. Still finely poised this game, but an important point there in the 6th end. That will make the score 5 points to 3 in favour of the Swiss, with 2 ends left to play. Decisive 6th end, as we often see, ended up with a steal of 1 point to the Swiss. And that means it is Andrew Schnider's team who are ahead 5 points to 3 against the unbeaten Koreans heading into this 7th end. So what's the objective for each team in this 7th end? It's Korea who maintain last stone in the 7th end. So if you're Andrew Schnider, what's your ideal situation? Well, if they can force Korea to score 1 point here, that would make the score 5 points to 4. There we are, Andrew just updating the score there. Currently 5 points to 3. If they could force Korea to score only 1 point, no more than that, that would make the score 5 points to 4, and it would be Schnider's team who have the last stone advantage in the 8th end, and that would really set them up very well to steal that 2nd place in the final later today. So that will be surely Andrew Schnider's plan for the 7th end. The Koreans, therefore, they would be really trying to do the opposite. They would want to score at least more than 1. Throwing up the corner guard then, that trying to give themselves at least a good chance to score maybe 2, maybe more. Korea really have to take the bull by the horns here in this 7th end. The other option for Korea would be to try to blank this 7th end and take their chance with last stone in the 8th end. But it doesn't look like they're going for that. They did throw up that corner guard and going to throw now a double guard. And I think we will see Korea go all out to try to score 2 or maybe even more in this 7th end. And try to give themselves the best chance to try to maybe steal something in the 8th end. So if you're Korea, what's your best path or most realistic path to the final? They're 2 points behind. We're in the 7th end. I would say if they can try to put a 2 on the board here, scores would be level, and it would be the Swiss who have last stone in the final end. But I think, especially since we have this no-tick rule here at the weekend in Adelboden, I think Korea would then really try to make use of that no-tick rule, put 2 guards out on the centre line, and I think that would be their easiest path or most realistic path to the final. So new signing Noé Traub throwing for Andrew Schnider's team just now, coming in at second throw. And Schnider quite happy to play towards the centre. If Schnider's team would even get another steal here in the 7th end, they would not have last stone in the 8th, but they would have a huge cushion of 3 points, either forcing 1 point for Korea or stealing 1 point for themselves. Both of those outcomes suit Schnider's team very nicely, thank you. Our Korean fans in the chat, the Koreans are certainly fighting. Undefeated so far, the Koreans. They've been playing very nicely all weekend. Kim Min-woo, second thrower for Korea, having to clear a bit of space and surely wanting to roll in behind his own corner guards as well. He does, but that was a huge throw, and that's going to roll out. And I imagine Angie Schnider will now be tidying up. There you can see the Italians in the background. Look, they're already starting lunch. They've got ages to have something to eat, rest up a bit. They'll be delighted that their opposition, whether it's Schnider or Jeong, they will be delighted that they're using up energy out there on the ice. Free guard zone is over, and these are the dangerous stones. Remember, Schnider doesn't want Korea to score more than 1. Korea's best chance of scoring more than 1 would be to use those corner guards. Therefore, the best shot for Schnider is to go ahead and remove them. 1 gone. Nice throwing from Noé Traub. We shall, of course, be watching the final. The final is at 1:30 European time. It will be Team Retornaz of Italy versus one of the teams out here. More precise throw being asked from Kim Min-woo. It's really the second thrower who had to make the biggest adjustments in this 5-rock free guard zone. Typically, second thrower on the team was the demolition man. And they would be throwing big weights to remove guards. And that's still an important skill for your second thrower, but in this 5-rock free guard zone world, you also see second thrower often throwing that more delicate weight, the more precise weight, since you're not allowed to start removing guards after 4 stones anymore. Nicolas Stoll not pleased with that one, and that could be the mistake that Korea needs. They do still have that 1 corner guard there, and if they can swing a stone right in behind that corner guard, they will be lying 2 reds. Jeong by Yongjin indicating, yeah, let's try to get them level. Don't leave a double takeout available. Huge shot then for Lee Jeong Jae. This could be the shot that keeps Korea in this semi-final. From Korea perspective, essential that they really score 2 with last stone advantage in this 7th end. I think if they only score 1, I think it will be tough for them to even force an extra end, and I think that's good enough. I think that red just counting in the front ring there. Schnider hitting the open red. Looks like Nicola Stoll also having excellent socks on today. So nice and clean from Stoll. The Koreans, I think, deciding, do they want to wrap another stone around the corner guard and maybe even try to go for 3 points? At the moment, Korea pretty nicely set up to try to get 2 points here. I think you do need to remove that yellow though, yeah. I don't think a freeze is going to help you very much. I think that yellow needs to leave the house. Nicely done from Lee. If they have to give up 2, Schnider's team, not the end of the world. Scores will be tied going into the 8th end, and Schnider will have that all-important last stone. We saw them making good use of that yesterday. It was an extra end against Klima, but same situation, scores were tied. Schnider with last stone drew the 4-foot just beautifully. They will be quite confident, I think, if that's the situation going into the 8th end. Korea having the same situation as they did with the previous stone. I think again wondering what if they would swing another stone in behind that corner guard, but I think this is the best idea here. I don't think you need to go for broke in the 7th end. I think you're in a good position to score 2 at the moment. Just that one mistake from Schnider's team. But nicely set up now, Korea, and I think I would really consolidate, make sure of this 2 points, and then take your chance without last stone. But scores tied. You just need to steal 1 in the 8th end. and really trying to take advantage of that no-tick rule. So lovely controlled weight from Korea. Essential that that red hangs around, otherwise you will have lost your chance to score 2. No fancy across the house double takeout available for Schnider. He will just need to make sure he hits this red one and hangs around himself. Try to still get a last mistake out of Korea. Hope they might hit and roll with their last stone instead of hit and stay. With this shot then, Schnider can pretty much guarantee that they will have last stone advantage in the 8th end. And this stone coming up for Korea, not so easy. You can see how close that yellow is to the front of house. Korea need to be a bit careful. They certainly can't roll away from the centre, or they may roll out of the house. The sweeper's just making sure all the way, but they've judged that really nicely. And that is going to be a score of 2. Just that one mistake from Schnider's team cost them an additional point in that 7th end, but still, advantage Schnider. It scores are level going into the 8th end here in our other semi-final. It is 5 points each as we go into the 8th end. And the good news for whichever team does triumph here, looks like I don't see an extra end coming. It's possible, but I don't anticipate an extra end, so that will be a little bit of energy saved. The Italians, they've been off for about half an hour already, saving their energy for a final. And whoever wins here, they will be happy to wrap up the game here in this 8th end. We want to see Korea then really try to use this no-tick rule. We want this stone from Kim Tae-hwan. We want this to touch that centre line, and then Schnider is not allowed to move it until after free guard zone is over. And he's done that beautifully. We can see very clearly that red touching the line. Schnider not allowed to move that stone, even by accident. That stone running on a little bit, but that won't affect what Team Korea needs to do. They need to make full use of free guard zone and no tick zone. They will want a second guard out front, just touching the centre line. And they will also want good separation. So no pressure for Kim Tae-hwan. big shot for him in this 8th end. He can really set up his team, put them in a strong position to try to steal. A big difference to the Korean team, picking up those 2 points in end 7 instead of just 1. And of course, he's got that beautifully, Kim. Look at that. 2 stones touching the centre line, miles apart. 100% for Kim. Tom Winkelhausen then just wanting to follow his first stone in. Not allowed to touch those guards, not allowed to move them off the centre line. And this looks good from Tom. Schnider just deciding to try to get to the centre first. That's really nice throw from Tom Winkelhausen. Also setting up his team for success in this 8th end. Big chance for the other Kim in the Korean team. That's Kim Min-woo. We need 8 out of 8 stones for Korea here. And even then, if you're going to steal the end, they will need Andre Schnider to miss with his last stone. All they can do, Korea, is set themselves up as well as possible. And it's now Kim Min-woo's turn to try to set up this end for a steal for Korea. And this looks pretty nice. Really nice stuff. That's almost exactly where they wanted it. I think that's tucked in right behind cover. And again, I think no matter where that stone was going to land, we would see Schnider going for the hit. Schnider's ideal situation when he comes to throw his last stone is nothing at all. He would love to be throwing at an empty house. Pretty rare that you get to do that, but that is still what you're aiming for. Noah Traub just removing the 1 guard. And Jim from English Curling, indeed, we're really seeing the value of those 2 lead stones from the Korean there. Very, very difficult for Noah Traub to make a double takeout on those reds. And really perfect placement there, both on that centre line, taking advantage of the no-tick rule. And really far apart, making the double very difficult. Whatever happens in this game then, Kim Tae-hwan, he's definitely earned his lunch. And Kim Min-woo making a pretty tidy effort as well. Again, nice big separation on those reds. Difficult to make the double take out. Same kind of call for Noe Traub. Oh, and he has got the pair of them. Fantastic shot from Noe Traub. What a boost that is. That is exactly the shot you wanted. I'm sure that will get a fist bump. What a boost that double takeout is from Noe Traub, removing both of the Korean guards. And Korea, again, not really doing much wrong here. All Korea can do is play 8 out of 8 stones, and they have so far. They've played them perfectly. But nothing you can do when Noe Traub is hitting as nicely as that. Andrew Schnider just about running to put his brush down, asking Nicola Stoll again to remove that guard. Just the one guard now, thanks to that splendid double takeout from Noe Traub. No trouble there. At some point, the Koreans will have to bring the game into the house. Sorry, no, Schnider will have to bring the game into the house. At the moment, it is that nice Korean stone, the red, just on the right of Jeong's head. That's currently lying shot. And that's lovely weight from Lee, but yeah, now Andrew Schnider has a decision. Does he remove that guard? And that's certainly never a bad idea, but not quite finding the right curl, that guard from Lee. And this could be an opportunity to do something about that red currently in the house. Important decision here. And indeed, I think Andrew Schnider is saying to himself, okay, that was a bit of a miss from the Koreans with their guard. Not quite finding the right line, and this is an opportunity to do something about that red. Yes, no sweeping, typically positive sign. And super shot from Nicola Stoll. Just moving that red just enough. That red's now out in the open on the edge of the forefoot. They won't be just so concerned about who's lying short. What's important is that Nicola Stoll has again cleared space on that clockwise handle. He has also cleared space for the Koreans to put a second stone in there. That is the risk of not removing that guard out front, is that you are, to some extent, opening it up for Korea to just do it better next time. Every stone in this eighth end, really a chance to turn the game. this one's got quite some beans on it. It's definitely going to go behind T, but it does have that little cushion, and I think that red is currently shot. But still space for Schnider to follow that similar path. Yeah, he doesn't really want to go behind T, Schnider. If he rolls the stone right up to those reds at the back, there would still be space for one more stone to cover the pin. I think, yeah, he really wants it just short of T. He also doesn't want it so short of T, more like in the 8 foot, then there would be space for Korea to remove it. So again, important shot placement here. Our Korean fans getting excited for setting up the steal. Certainly both teams pretty much playing lovely stuff in this 8th end. Both teams trying to give themselves the best chance to qualify for the final against Retornaz of Italy. Andrew Schnider has just seen pretty much this stone. There is one more yellow stone out of shot on the left, don't worry. There are 3 stones to come, including this one from Andrew Schnider. This one has caught the curl. They need to get it around that front one. Big sweep from Tom Winkelhausen and Noe Traub. They're not going to get it around that front one. But found a decent spot, that yellow. That's potentially a stone they can use with their last throw, Andrew Schnider's team. Korea will be saying to themselves, okay, what shot is Schnider's obvious shot with last stone, and let's block that. It is that little red at the back of the 4 foot. That's the one lying short. Doesn't really matter who's lying second and third and that sort of thing, from the point of view that 1 point is enough here. We're in the 8th end and the scores are level. So whoever can score 1 point here, 1 point is essentially the same as 2 or 3 at this stage. You just need to score something and you will qualify for the final. Sweep again from Kim and Kim, the 2 Korean sweepers. I think they've got this very nicely. That's a fine shot from the Koreans. It looked like they were maybe trying to force Andrew Schnider to use the anti-clockwise handle, but well, he thinks that you can hit and roll in from that shot just thrown by Korea. I'd be a little bit surprised because they were really sweeping it for as far as it would go. That's 8 out of 8 shots for Korea. That's the best they can do. They have set themselves up beautifully. If this shot goes wrong, Korea are poised to steal this game. But one more shot to come that will decide everything. As is very typical for Team Schnider's games, it going right to the last stone. And it looks like he's driving that yellow straight back. There must be just enough space to get it straight back onto that red that's still lying shot at the back of the 4-foot. So our Korean fans in the chat crossing their fingers, pressing thumbs. Here it comes, last throw of the semi-final. Andrew Schnider trying to promote that yellow stone. He's not taking his eyes off it. Sounds pretty good. He's got it beautifully. And super shot again. With the final throw when scores are tied. Both teams playing 8 shots out of 8. But it is Andrew Schnider's team who will have a second go at Team Retornaz. Big smiles all round. Of course, they have fought so hard to get here. Disappointment for the Koreans. What a competition they've had. Undefeated coming into this semi-final. And really putting pressure on this game the whole time. Playing 8 out of 8 shots in that 8th end. Setting themselves up really, really beautifully. But that man, Andrew Schnider, for the second time in this competition, when scores are tied, he's got one throw to sort it out. And he does. Big smiles from Schnider's team. They have 2 hours to go and get some lunch, have a bit of a rest. They will have a second go at Team Retornaz, whom they took to an extra end during the round robin. Our Korean fans graciously saying that was a good game. It was. We've been delighted to welcome our Korean friends here. They've really entertained us with some super curling this weekend. And no shame losing a super semi-final of that calibre. But their competition is now finished, the Korean team. Maybe we shall see them back here in Adelboden another time. And meanwhile, we are down to 2 teams. The final here in Adelboden will be at 1:30 European. We will have Team Retornaz of Italy, and they will be up against Team Andrew Schnider of Switzerland, who have just at the very last stone. Jim also appreciating that last stone there. What a way to win a curling match, absolutely. I hope we shall have some fireworks again this afternoon. Join us for the final at 1:30 European. Bye for now.